Okay, so I've just put the first layer on. It always looks really bizarre on the first layer, so I've literally just put a sort of generic tone down. It's really washed down, almost a bit like a watercolour. If you can see, so I'm hoping it shouldn't take too long to dry, but yeah, it's just to get everything covered and then we can start working into it. I can still sort of see the pencil marks on it, so I've not gone too drastic, but it always looks really odd at the start. But yeah, just put like generic light, dark, sort of mid-tones down, and then once it's dried you can work into it. Hi everyone, painting is now dry, so today I'm going to work on the clothes, and we're just going to add the darks, the mid-tones and the light tones just to get the base down of those, not really putting much detail in but just sort of marking out where everything's going to go. So I've got my maul stick, which is what I use, so I rest it, have it in my right hand because I'm left-handed, and I just lean it against my board, which I'd normally lean against my wall in the studio, and then I lean my painting hand on top of it. It's just keep my hand steady, and starts me putting my hand on the painting as well. So yeah, if you've not got one of these, I highly recommend getting a maul stick. Okay, so I've just put a layer on this green. I've put the paint on a little bit thicker than the first layer. It's just to give me something to work into once it's dried. So I've just put like some dark tones down, and then some mid-tones, and then some lighter tones. It will go lighter in certain areas. I don't know if you can see. But yes, just to identify where the lights and darks need to be, and so then I can start working into it once it's dried. Okay, so I've put on the second layer. As you might notice, I've gone over this bit here, which is where the hair comes over the face, so we want a sort of skin tone under there. And I haven't put eyebrows in. I've just put like a darker shade because I'll be putting the strands in individually. But yeah, I sort of almost like a stippled effect on some bits, especially around the cheeks and stuff, so I just dabbled it, and it gives it quite a nice effect, and it helps with the top layer as well when adding the top layer of like colour. So yeah, just dabbed it on, but I've got everything sort of covered. My painting is now dry. So today I'm just going to work on the skin, like on the neck, start working my way up. I'll probably be using a bit of a smaller brush today, and then I'll probably end up dabbling it on a little bit, but I'll show you the technique. So I've been putting the paint on the neck, and then with sort of a dry brush, just dabbling it on, just to blend the edges, and also it gives it a bit of a texture. So once it's dry, I can work over the top of it with thinner layers of paint. So like maybe a darker colour, or reflective green that's going to be on here. But I just dabble it on. I don't know if you can try and see that one. I'm literally just dabbing it on like this. And then because it's what's next to it is wet, it really just blends in it quite nicely. Get a dry brush that's slightly bigger and do the same thing, but because it's dry, just softens the edges off. So it just softens it. So yeah, and just dabble it. Okay, so today I'm going to be working on the eyes. I'm going to start putting a lot more detail in. So I'm going to look at show the darker areas first, I think. Get all that in, and then put the midtones in, and then highlight just to lift it off. So yeah, I'll get another layer on there, and then really start focusing on getting this detail down. But yeah, skin's slowly getting there. I need to put some reflective colours in it, but you can see there's like quite a nice texture to it. Okay, so I'm just building up around the eyes. As you can see, I'm going to start. I've covered the whole sort of area. I need to do that little bit there and above this eye. And then I'm going to start adding highlights in, probably a few darks as well, and then gently blend it in to create the eyes. I've just put a layer actually on the eyes. I need to soften this line a little bit, like I have done on the other eye, but just slowly getting there. And it's still that same sort of technique of dabbling it down, but it's probably an even smaller brush now. I'm working with a 2-0, you can see. So it's quite small. It's a bright, I think, so it's got a flat edge on the top, but it's getting a bit old now, so I'm about ready to get a new one out. But yeah, just filling it in, just dabbing it down, and then I'll start adding maybe the highlights in the eyes, but I'll go wait for the eyes to dry. But yeah, just gradually building it up. And then what I tend to do, which I've noticed, is I'll do the eyes, get them practically completely finished, and I'm just going to work my way back down again and work on the mouth. So I need to put another layer in and that on the mouth. Okay, so I've been building up this eye here. Started putting the creases in, and then what I tend to do is I put a dark line in. I've done it up here on these bits, and then I put a lighter line next to it, and then I'll get like a dry brush and just blend it. So that's what I've been doing along here, and it's working quite well. I've got some blues in there, a little bit of greenish, sort of pink in there as well, which is reflecting. So yeah, I'm going to do the other eye and carry on with the creases, which is quite nice. I quite enjoy doing those. Yeah, slowly getting there. And also remember, whites of the eyes aren't always pure white. They're probably a bit more like a bluey grey, so blue and a red. So blue will set something back and red will bring something forward. So I tend to put a bit of blue on the top of the whites of the eyes, and then with the pinky flesh it just lifts it off from the eyeball. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how I get like the rosiness of the cheeks, or how I would put on a colour over the top of what we've already painted. So I've literally just got like a red on my brush, and I'm just dabbling it on, just dotting it on there. And then because this is oil paint, it's not going to dry straight away. I'm just going to add some colour to these areas. Okay. So it's not like really wet, it's like probably quite dryish paint, slightly damp, but not like too wet. And then I'm just going to get a dry brush. Can't find one. There we go. And just go over the top. So yeah, that's how I get like the rosiness of the cheeks. I'll probably end up going even darker down here, just to give it that bit more of a crease, because it's not, I've got a line there, but it's not really a line like that. It's a line where it gradually blends that way. So it's going to start dark, but it's just going to blend out, give it that curved effect. But yeah. So just subtly gets softens, you can see. And then I can lighten it as well, so there's some lighter areas in there, so I'll do the same thing. I'll add some light colours in and then just blend it. Yeah, it's quite nice working on aluminium because you can do that with it. It just sits really nicely on top of each other. Okay, so I've been building up the layers on this. See if you can get a nice close up. And I'm just going to show you how I get the crease lines. So I put in the dark lines, and then the undertone is still there, which is this sort of mid colour here, and then I've put a lighter shade on, so it looks quite dramatic at the minute, really sharp, whereas the other eye you can see that it's quite nice and subtle. But if you just go along and just blend these out. Just always keep that brush nice and dry. So I'm just wiping it as I go. And then because of the way that I put the paint down to begin with, it's got quite a nice texture to it, so the paint sits quite nicely in some of the areas. Just gives it that sort of skin sort of texture. So yeah, there's lots of lines, so I'll put them in, and then because this brush is dry, I can just gently go over it, and it just softens them a bit. When you're doing a painting, I tend to just look at the shapes that colours make, and I do that all over, and that's how I build up painting. So like with the nose, I know a lot of people struggle with noses, so just look at like the shapes of colours, light areas, and that will build up to look like a nose, and I do that all over the face. So yeah, it's a good way of looking at things. Okay, so just working on the mouth now. When you're doing the mouth, it's good to blend off the edges, so the line's quite subtle. So just making it lighter here. So just blends in nicely, and then I've put a few bits of highlights on, different sort of reflective colours. I've done that in the teeth as well, which I need to soften off a little bit, but you sort of get the idea that the mouth isn't just straight like lips, it's quite a soft edge. Okay, so I think the mouth's about done. I've just put in some sort of green colour in here. I'm going to do the same technique as I have done before, and just blend it in so that the undercolour shows through. And that just sets the face so that it sort of looks like it's going back, and also it's like reflecting off the clothing. Okay, so I'm just putting the hair in. Just putting a sort of mid-tone down, which then I'll work over afterwards. I'm going to cover the whole lot, and then once it's dry I can pick out like strands of hair and sort of highlight them. So I'm just going to cover this, the whole lot. Happy with the face, looks quite good. So yeah, now it's just to bring it all together with the hair and the clothes. Okay, so I've put the hair in, the hairline, and it's quite dark, quite thickly put on. I'm just going to use a dry brush and soften the edges of these. Just go around and soften all these edges. And this just helps with the hairline when you come to put the strands of hair in, so it just doesn't look so dramatic. It's just blended underneath. And then yeah, we'll just probably wait for it to dry, and then add in strands of hair. Yeah, just soften it all off. All the darks are in the right place. All the lights are in the right place. I've just put another layer on the clothes, so it's quite thickly put on, and then I'll do the same as what I always do. I'll get a dry brush and I'm just going to gently blend it off, and we'll just soften everything off, give it a little bit of a texture, and then when I put all the highlights in, little bits of detail, it will sit nicely on top. Just give something for the top layer to attach itself to. Okay, so I'm going to just really gently mark out some strands. Literally trying to only just ever so slightly touch it. And I'll do this with all the colours. Okay, so I've gone over the hair. I've put all the different tones in. It's quite sharp, especially the fringe sort of area. It doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to go over and soften certain areas so that they're not too sharp, you know, like I've done on everything really. It's just soften, just really gently going over some of the strands. And then probably what I'll do once this is dry is I might just go over with a couple of highlights. But yeah, it just softens all these edges off a little bit. So I'm not like rubbing them out or anything. It's just going over. So like there's two lines that are really sharp. So I'll just gently brush them off a little bit. And then I'm gonna, big hair on my, just soften these ones here. And then what I'll do once that's dried, I'll bring a few strands over the front. So I'm always going in the direction that the hair's going, so I'm not smudging it the wrong way. Yeah. And then just the ones along here, just soften them. And then I'll probably just pick out a few and put a few highlights and some shadows underneath. But hair's done. I added a few strands after I softened it off, so it was still slightly wet. So that's turned out quite nice. And then I just softened the edges off around here and then along this edge. So yeah, today I'm going to be working on this, put the highlights in, get those little details in there, darks and lights, and that will really bring it to life. Okay, so I've just sort of dabbed on sort of black, green black that I've mixed at the start, and I've just dabbed it on, and because I dabbed the paint last time, I'm now just gonna brush it with a dry brush if I want, and it should hopefully sit quite nicely on top. It's a bit hard for you to see because the light's hitting it, but just soften it off. So I'll do this all over, put all my darks in, blend it off, and then I'll add some lighter areas. Okay, so the painting's now finished. I'll show you what it's like. If you've got any questions about the process or anything, just send me an email or comment and I'll try and help you out and get back to you. So thanks for staying tuned.